Welcome back to the Holler. tnholler.com is where you can find us at the TN Holler on Twitter, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube, all that good stuff. Shout out to the people who support us, like Abby Rubenfeld if you need a lawyer, Elisa Parker if you're buying or selling a home in Middle Tennessee, and Gay Veterans, a new sponsor of ours. And if you want a hat like the one I'm wearing, just go to tnholler.com, chip in a few bucks a month and grab one. All right. Let's get to it. I just wanted to hop on here today. There is something very unique to Tennessee going on, something that I think should be a bigger deal than it is. I don't know why it's not a bigger deal in the country. It's not every day that you see the current speaker of the House in Tennessee, a Republican speaker, Cameron Sexton, is going to be testifying in a federal corruption trial against the former Tennessee Republican Speaker of the House. So that trial is going on right now. Speaker Casada and his former chief of staff, Cade Cothran, are on trial for corruption. Day 4 was today, and I went down there today, and I just kind of wanted to recap for you what happened today for those of you who are interested. I'd actually like to see in the comments how many of you are following this, are interested in it. Like, to me, it's amazing. I mean, I can't believe we're here. This has been kind of in the works for 4 years, and it's finally happening. A lot of us kind of thought it would never get to this point, but apparently Speaker Casada was offered a plea deal. He declined it. And here we are on day 4 of the trial. And I went down there. I was there all day today. And I want to tell you what happened. First of all, I haven't really spent a lot of time in federal courtrooms, but they're very serious places and they don't let you bring your phone in at all. I didn't have a pen and pad, so I asked my daughter to hook me up. And this is what she gave me, the BFF pad that I used. I highly recommend getting yourself a BFF pad if you don't have one. By the way, on the way in today, we saw a few of the players coming in. Speaker Casada was walking in. My big question for Casada, his lawyer's comments are basically saying that Speaker Sexton set him up. Speaker Sexton worked with the FBI to take him down, essentially, which, knowing Cameron Sexton, it's believable, but also the timing of it is weird because, this all stems from Cade Cothran, his chief of staff, allegedly setting up a fake company to handle mailers from the Republican caucus, a company called Phoenix Solutions. And allegedly he set up this fake company and they were steering business his way and getting kickback. So that's what this all entails, an alleged kickback scheme. Casada was steering business to his former chief of staff. This is long after they had both been disgraced by these scandals, ugly text messages, racist text messages, cocaine at the office, like all this nonsense. There was a no confidence vote in former Speaker Casada. And then after that, Cade was gone out of the legislature. And when Casada was no longer speaker, allegedly, Cade set up this business and Casada was steering him business from the Republican caucus to do these mailers using partly state funds and then getting kickbacks. And that's the allegation. I'm saying allegedly a lot, but allegedly other Republicans in the caucus were wearing wires and working with the FBI to take down their own people, which you would think other Republicans would be mad about. But as far as I can tell, really only Republican Representative Todd Warner has really spoken out about this.
Upset that you may have gotten set up by a political rival. Seems like other Republicans should be concerned if that's what happened.
That's walking in today. That's Casada. It's no surprise that these guys would be up to no good. But there are some surprises here. It is kind of surprising that Republicans would wear wires on each other. That's pretty surprising. And then it's kind of even more surprising that, if that happened, more Republicans aren't mad about that. That's kind of wild. That's a serious thing to wear a wire on someone and get them set up for federal crimes, especially in the age of Trump. You would think Trump people probably wouldn't be too thrilled about wearing wires. None of them were too happy about Michael Cohen talking badly about his boss. Interesting to note where the lines are here. Jeff says he's a piece of garbage. Hope he gets 20 years. There's not a lot of good guys in this story. So I'm not here to defend anyone's character. I'm just here to kind of try to figure out what's going on and where the lines are. That's the interesting part of this, especially since when the charges were read out loud, I was there day 1 also. This is all over something like $60,000 in business that was steered to this company, Phoenix Solutions. and potentially with kickbacks to Robin Smith and Glen Casada are the allegations. $60,000 of all the nonsense going on up there, all the probable crimes that are being committed and the rights that are being violated, for this to be the thing that has us sitting in a federal courtroom watching the former Speaker of the House potentially go to the pen for many years. It's pretty amazing. And so it's a Republican, eat Republican, old world. Yes. Selective outrage. There's no line. Like I agree with you guys. This was Todd Warner, who, he's like the one Republican that actually is seemingly upset about Republicans wearing wires on each other.
It's my understanding that yes, we had folks wearing wires.
It's my understanding that we had folks wearing wires. Like, that's pretty intense. I haven't really heard anybody but Todd Warner on the Republican side even speak up about that. And so now let me tell you what happened today. This morning, as you saw, that was when everybody's walking in. The first person up was this guy, Jay Reedy, really just like a rank and file Republican. I'm not really sure why he was called to the stand. So the line of questioning from the prosecution about Jay Reedy was, if you had known Cade Cothran was behind Phoenix Solutions, would you have wanted that to be the vendor that you used for these mailers? He said, I wouldn't have wanted Cade Cothran to be associated. That would have hurt my reputation. And that was kind of the line that the prosecution was using, was like, any association with Cade Cothran after all the scandals that he had been through risked the reputation of these rank and file Republicans, and therefore tricking them into using this Phoenix Solutions company risked their reputation. That was part of the damage that was done. And so that was the Jay Reedy part. Jay Reedy stepped down. And then the main witness today was Connie Ridley, director of legislative administration, something like that. Basically everything goes through her at the Capitol. Like all the HR stuff goes through her, pay stuff, per diem stuff. Like she kind of oversees the office, but she serves under the speaker. And she's been there 30 years. She's worked under, I think, 5 speakers there. Kind of everything goes through her. The prosecution called her. They slow walked her through all of these like invoices from Phoenix Solutions, showed email exchanges with Robin Smith, who has since resigned, I think. And she was the one who was like pushing Connie Ridley to pay Phoenix Solutions for their work. Every member gets a certain amount of money to communicate with their constituents. So in the House side, it's $3,000. On the Senate side, it's $8,000. And that's taxpayer funds that as a sitting legislator, you get to use, send out like newsletters, but it can't be political. It just has to be like, here's what's going on in the district. And so that's taxpayer funds. The vendors that they use are getting taxpayer funds. And that's why to steer this money through fraudulent means and get kickbacks, that's why the feds are involved. There were a dozen or so of these legislators, through the encouragement from Casada and Robin Smith, use this Phoenix Solutions group without knowing that it was actually Cade Cothran, potentially, allegedly, behind it. So they established, by talking to Connie Ridley, Robin Smith was the one that was like pushing to fulfill the invoice to Phoenix Solutions. And Connie Ridley was saying, well, the reason that it was taking her some time to fulfill these invoices to Phoenix Solutions was because they didn't have a W-9. They didn't have like the necessary paperwork. What they eventually showed over the course of the day was that Phoenix Solutions eventually sent them a W-9 saying it was this guy, Matthew Phoenix. There were these like exchanges between Matthew Phoenix and another employee at Phoenix Solutions, which is all a little shady. The aha moment of the day was that Connie Ridley showed she suspected something was wrong. And when she went to look at the Phoenix Solutions checks that got cashed, she says it was Cade Cothran's signature on the checks. And she matched that up to other Cade Cothran signatures that she had on file. And that's when she realized Phoenix Solutions was actually being run by Cade Cothran. The people that were encouraging her to pay those funds actually knew that. That's where the charges stem from. And this involves Robin Smith, who is not on trial, which is why I think most people are assuming that Robin Smith turned on them. When you're hearing all this about the W-9 from Phoenix Solutions that didn't really exist and Cade's names are on the check, like that all starts to add up. And you're like, all right, yeah, well, it's not looking good. It's about $60,000. But if you're defrauding taxpayers in any way, there's going to be charges for that. Compared to what else goes on in that building, where does this stack up? I'm not sure. And then there's this whole thing where now I'll get to what happened next, because that was the prosecution's part. And then most of the day was actually the cross-examination of Connie Ridley. And that was Cade Cothran's attorney drilling down on Connie Ridley's authority to dictate this stuff and who gets to decide who the vendors are, where Connie Ridley's authority to do that stems from. Cothran's attorney was like pulling up the policy, which actually changed, I think, midstream during all this, and said, like, where does it say that you get to decide who the vendors are that these state representatives use? It doesn't say that in the policy. And so she's like, my authority stems from the speaker's office, appoints me to lawfully execute the expenditures. And so even though this postal program is not spelled out, she sees it as part of her duties appointed by the speaker. I'm not really sure what Cothran's attorneys are getting at there. Like, ultimately, it kind of seems like, well, if there was fraud here and phony documents, like that's kind of, maybe that's ball game. But part of what he seems to be getting at, and a lot more to come here. So again, this is just day 4. And a lot of people think that Speaker Cameron Sexton is taking the stand on Monday. So I'll be there Monday. Part of what I think they're getting at, ultimately, Speaker Sexton controls everything. If Casada is saying, well, we were set up, maybe what they're saying is that he knew. Who knew what when? That, I think, is a big part of this. And I don't know that any of it is ever going to like really excuse what we already kind of have seen today, this phony company, Phoenix Solutions, and, Cade potentially being behind it. And I don't know anything's going to erase that. But if they're not taking the plea deal, even though they know they have this evidence, it seems like what they're wanting to at least do is take somebody down with them. You guys set us up like this. You're coming down with us. I'm interested to see who gets called next week. I'm interested to see where this all goes. There's like speculation by some that the governor might get dragged into this. I don't think the Governor Lee is part of this scam. There is some shadiness around the way vouchers were passed initially. Casada held the board open for 45 minutes. And the way John Mark Windle says that he was offered a military promotion to get vouchers passed. I mean, that all was very shady. I just don't know if it actually is tied into this at all. Could it be where this all started? The Fed started to look into that and then started talking to somebody. One thing led to another. And they were like, hey, well, this whole thing's going on too. You might want to take a look at this. I don't know. But I feel pretty certain Casada not taking the plea deal is a sign this might get kind of juicy. I don't know what that means necessarily. I do know that it's not every day you have the former Republican Speaker of the House on trial, and like basically the key witness is going to be the current Republican Speaker of the House. Like, it blows my mind that that's not a bigger story. It really does. This should be a big story. I mean, I don't get how it's not, honestly. Even though the money isn't a lot. I mean, these guys are facing, I think, 20 years in prison. A lot of it is focused on Cade right now. If you think about like what Cade allegedly did here, right? Scandal stuff was separate. Like, that had already happened. It's gross. Got his ass kicked for that, and deservedly so. No defending that. And like, he was still in power when I was just starting out, and like, he was abusing it, and so was Casada. So that comeuppance was deserved, and that happened. Right. But Monica's saying this, right? And this is kind of what I'm saying. This is what I'm getting at. He's not the big fish. He's the low-hanging fruit. It does feel like he's getting kind of thrown under the bus a little bit. Scandal happened, out of a job, a high-paying job. I mean, he was making $16,000 a month. And so now he's like out of a job, scandal happened. How can I make some money? He's still got these relationships. And so he's like, all right, well, I'm going to become a vendor. He knew how it all worked. I start a phony company. That way they won't know it's me. He still did the work. It's fraud. It's not defensible if he did that. All he did was trick people into hiring him and then doing a job. If there was a kickback there, that's kind of the grosser part of that. Casada and Robin taking the kickbacks to steer him the business. None of it is great. But the idea that Cade is the one that's going to go to prison for that, when all of these other things are going on that we all know about, look what Trump is doing. Trump's meme coin literally selling access to the White House. Something's not right there. And it does sort of feel like something else is going on. Like, we're missing something big. This can't be about that. And maybe it is now and wasn't. And then you say Trump will pardon him. Maybe that's true. I mean, we already saw he pardoned Kelsey. This is Republican on Republican. So like, which of their sides would Trump be on? I have no idea. And that's kind of what makes this so incredibly interesting, and why I'm actually surprised more Democrats aren't literally sitting in there with popcorn buckets. $60,000 doesn't seem like a lot. Defrauding taxpayers is never okay, no matter how much. There's another shoe coming. The juiciest parts are yet to come. And I'm absolutely fascinated to see what happens when Cameron Sexton takes the stand. And again, I don't understand why more Republicans aren't like, you wore a wire on other Republicans. Wow. Thanks for watching this. I hope this was informative in some way. Try to plan on doing this again on Monday after hopefully Cameron Sexton takes the stand. Thanks for following the Holler. Chip in and grab a Holler hat if you can. And I'll see you next time.